on this episode of Jeff Does Vegas.
It's so silly. It was so silly. The whole process from writing, it originated with one of my best friends, Miss Tickle, Melissa King Jules, and then our friend Anais, Penny Pibbits, came in and she was like, I love this. I'd love to produce and direct it. And then she basically was, she's like, let's put puppets in. And I'm like, no. And then, she won because she's brilliant. And of course, it's awesome. And now I'm like, more puppets.
Las Vegas. It's more than just a city. It's a feeling. It's that feeling of excitement when you spot the lights of the strip out the airplane window. It's that feeling of awe as you stroll down the boulevard, taking in the sights and sounds. And it's that feeling of satisfaction, knowing that you're in the greatest city in the world. Over 42 million people from around the world share that feeling every year. And I'm one of them. Taking you to the world-famous Vegas Strip and beyond, my name is Jeff. And this is Jeff Does Vegas. It's not very often you get the opportunity to talk to someone who's collaborated with and performed for the likes of Sting, Jerry Lewis, Fergie, Ice-T, Pink, and Jeff Goldblum. But when that chance comes along, you take it. Joining me for this episode of the podcast is Las Vegas performer Melody Sweets. You might recognize Melody from her time as the Green Fairy in the smash show Absinthe, a role that she originated and performed for over 6 years. Maybe you checked out one of her production shows at either the Roman Plaza at Caesar's Palace or the Smith Center. Or maybe you've peeped her pics in Las Vegas Magazine, Las Vegas Weekly, the New York Times, the Sports Illustrated Swimsuit Edition, the Harvard Art Museum, or the Smithsonian Museum of American History. Melody was kind enough to hop on the podcast with me for a conversation about her latest project, her web series, Sweets Spot, which features the tagline, Baking, Boobies, and One Evil Donut. Melody and I discussed her life pre-Vegas and what brought her to the city initially, the evolution of Sweets Spot from a live stage show to the video series it's become, some of the great guest stars who have graced the Sweets Spot kitchen, the future of the series, and much more. Please enjoy my conversation with Melody Sweets.
I like to say New York. I lived there for the most of my life. But I kind of grew up in foster care, and before that was California. I was born in California, actually, but I moved away from there as a kid. So New York, in the house.
And so your pre-Vegas life, as you mentioned, you were in New York. You were performing, entertaining, producing, doing all the crazy things in New York City?
All those things. Yeah, I was doing a lot of traveling. I had my show at this amazing place called Duane Park, which still has a version of that show and many other shows. So if you're in New York, you should go check it out. Basically I met the producers of Absinthe through my shows. And then, they kind of talked to me for about 2 years about coming here, actually. But then it finally happened. And like quicksand in the desert, I'm still here. Sucked me in.
They've got you. You just can't
I
get
can't
away
leave
from it.
now. Yeah, I've got dogs and a house, and it's like life happened. Really weird how that happens.
And so was it Absinthe, was it Spiegelworld that convinced you to come to Vegas, or was there something else on the horizon there?
It was Absinthe. My friends, Voki and Anais, who were the original Gazillionaire, and Penny Pibbits were friends of mine. And I had traveled with Spiegelworld with Absinthe before we came to Vegas. We did shows in New York, and we did shows in Australia, which was a lot of fun. I had fun there.
And so I want to talk about Absinthe and Spiegelworld because Absinthe is still one of my favorite shows in Las Vegas. My wife and I had a chance to see it back kind of during its original incarnation in Vegas with yourself as the Green Fairy and original
cool.
Gazillionaire and original Penny Pibbits, and which, by the way, I think the OG cast is still nothing against the current cast, but I think the OG
Yeah.
cast is the best cast ever.
I think it was a different energy. You know, we were the underdog and we had a lot to prove and we had a lot to say, you know, and we created something really cool and different that wasn't here before. And so I think that energy kind of went out into the audience as well.
So with Absinthe, talking about Absinthe, and when that show first started and you first kind of got the script and got the idea from the Spiegelworld people, was it one of those things where you looked at it and went, what the is this? This is the craziest thing I've ever seen, because it is a crazy show.
I'm from New York, you know, and there was no script. You know, we created what you saw. That was me. You know, those were my songs I was singing. You know, that was just what we did on that stage. Voki, the Gazillionaire and Penny Pibbits, they created their own everything, their characters, their jokes, and you know, they're still a part of it today. But more exciting than that, Penny Pibbits is the director and producer of Sweet Spot. So, and she also plays Frida Hole, Dr. Donut's evil sidekick, who you see in throughout the web series. So, brilliant comedy writer, brilliant actress, and singer, all around genius. That one.
I want to talk about Sweet Spots because this was such a fun thing to come across in line and seeing what you were doing with this. I love the tagline: baking, boobies, and one evil donut.
It's so silly. It was so silly. The whole process from writing, you know, it originated with one of my best friends, Miss Tickle, Melissa King Jules. She is a brilliant brain. I always tell her I want to lick her brain. I know that sounds weird, but I know I'd get something from it. But she's just this beautiful performer and creator. And, you know, we had started writing for my show was supposed to go on the Strip. A few different variations, a few different producers I'd signed with, but the recent one was at Caesar's Palace, at the Cleopatra's Barge Room. But as we know, that closed forever. Oh, killed me. But you know, so and that closed in the pandemic. So and so did basically entertainment as we knew it at that time, right? So we decided let's change gears, and we started writing it for TV, and realized, oh, we can do whatever we want in TV. You know, we're not restricted to the stage or, you know, what we can do live and stuff like that. So we really had fun with it. And then our friend Anais, Penny Pibbits, came in and she was like, I love this. I'd love to produce and direct it. And then she basically was, she's like, let's put puppets in. And I'm like, no. And then, you know, she won because she's brilliant. And of course, it's awesome. And now I'm like, more puppets. So, you know, definitely not a kid's show for everyone out there listening when you hear that there's puppets in the baking show. But yeah, that's it's been a wild process from writing to having all those wonderful Las Vegas characters in my home, filming in my very, very pink kitchen now. So pink. Oh my God. It looks beautiful on screen, but in real life it's pink. It's so crazy. But I'm loving it. We are hoping for a season 2. You know, right now we're just trying to get it out there and we're going into this new world of screen instead of live. So it's a learning process for us, and we're just having fun with it.
And I assume you are a baker. You enjoy baking, do you?
I do. I used to bake for the foster kids in some of the homes that I lived in. And I didn't do the crazy stuff that I was doing now, but in the pandemic, one of my sisters had come into town, and it was my birthday. I'm like, kind of pouting, like, make my own birthday cake, you know? And then it brought back that feeling and that feeling of safety almost, and realizing that what I made people happy around me, and even if it was for a laugh, and then we get to eat that happiness, which was always great, so I just kept doing it and making crazy bakes for my neighbors. I'm now the neighborhood cake lady. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's happened, and just getting the response that I do from some of the bakes that I've made for people, big elaborate things, has been very heartwarming and rewarding in a very different and unexpected way. And so I just went with it. And it's on brand, my name. I was like, this is great. So, yeah, I'm just kind of going wherever it takes me and having fun with it, enjoying our time with my wonderful friends creating.
Speaking of the Friends, I loved watching it and seeing all these different people popping up in the show and different Vegas entertainers and such, and seeing some of my own friends pop up in there. The first
Who?
time when the fridge opened up and I saw Isaac Tubb and Mikey Beans in there playing
Oh,
the drums, and
yeah.
I looked and went, "That's Isaac and Mikey. That's hilarious."
Mikey Beans is basically my brother. I've known him for basically my whole life. We used the room together in New York City. And, I've known him for a long time. Very cool.
I know the Vegas community is the entertainment community is such a close-knit group of people. I assume you had no problem convincing anybody to be a part of this, basically going to them and going, "I've got this crazy idea for a baking show with boobs. Do you want to be in it?" I'm guessing everybody said yes.
Actually, I I know for the people that I asked, I didn't give them very much info. I was just like, "Hey, you want to be a part of this project I'm doing? With Tickle and Anais?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure." And there were some very funny moments. For example, in the fifth episode, you see the Virgin Mary, and she does some very questionable things in that episode. And she's like, what? She had no idea that that's what she was going to be wearing or doing. And she was just so on board, with it. And that's how it went with most cases. They were just like, "Oh, okay, cool. That's what we're doing." Okay. And a lot of people maybe didn't understand, I think, but it was so much fun. And I think most of those people might return if we have that opportunity. I think we treated them well and had a good time. And we all got to eat afterward. So that was fun too.
Always a bonus.
Yeah.
Do you think that this is something that could translate to a live show though? Like you could very easily turn this into a live, you're going to bake something live on stage.
Yeah. I mean, it had many different variations. It originally was very burlesque, very elegant, classy, naughty, but this beautiful thing. And then the comedy kind of came in, and then, like I said, the puppets and evil donuts and stuff like that. So, yes, to answer your question, it could definitely be a live show. And of course, we've written a few versions of that. We haven't really brought that to anyone's attention because we've been very focused on the filming and getting all the, everything released. We've got bloopers coming, and, the editing process has been a bit slow, and we're just doing it as it goes, and hopefully learning a lot and doing it better the next time.
And I would imagine too, the idea of doing it online and releasing it on YouTube and releasing it through your website is a little more freeing than say trying to do it for a network television or something like that. The reason A, you're not sort of time restricted. You don't have to fill a certain amount of time. And then B, you can be as edgy as you want when you're doing it online like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind the reach that a public, like, Netflix or Adult Swim or something like that could handle this kind of comedy. Um, but but yes, the freedom to do whatever we want is great. I feel like whoever would sign us on would know that that's what is special about it, and would give us that freedom. Either that, or they're gonna just be like, get behind the counter and bake. Okay, whatever you want, sneak in a puppet or something.
I can't even imagine being in the writing room with you guys on this, because knowing and seeing what made it onto the screen, I can only imagine the stuff that didn't make it onto the screen.
Yes, we have, we don't have a problem with an abundance of ideas. We have a lot, and it took a lot of editing down and trying to figure out what works, who's available. We wrote the basic skeleton of the show and then filled in some stuff depending on what was available to us, what we could do in the amount of time that was available to us. And yeah, it's we have so much more. If we This time around, we're thinking, of course, how can we make it crazier and bigger and better? And right now we've got a pot full of really simmering, full of crazy ideas. Do you like that food? Yeah, thank you. I'm trying.
Well, that was a wonderful analogy that you threw together there. That was outstanding.
Trying.
You, as you mentioned, you're talking a series 2. Any timeline on that at all?
No. Right now like I said, we're figuring out what a season 2 would look like, deciding on what we want to do with season 1. We want to extend the baking. We want to bring in some special guests, some celebrity guests, and do stuff like that. So right now we're enjoying the creative process and seeing what direction we want to take it, and just trying to get it out there. All the likes and subscribes and all those things, that we can get. We hope that you can come along on the ride. And it's been a new, like I said, the YouTube and stuff like that is new to me, because I'm so very used to that live experience and that instant gratification, and knowing if the audience likes what you're doing or not instantly, rather than waiting until you release this thing and who's watching it, and do they like it, and what are they gravitating towards, stuff like that.
And I know the thing with all of you guys, all of my Vegas friends and all my Vegas entertainer friends, is you guys are never sitting still. You've always got 850 million other projects on the go. So you're working on Sweet Spot stuff, but I assume you've also got other things on the go. Are you looking at other shows and looking at trying to get other music out?
I'm definitely working on some new music, and hopefully including that in season 2, perhaps. The idea of having a live show is there still, and I'm working on more of a solo thing rather than the big production shows that I was doing. Late night in the Absinthe tent, or although I do miss the Smith Center stage, I really enjoyed performing there, but I'd like to scale it down and really make it more personal rather than this big show of a thing. And, I had a 12-piece band coming on with me at Smith Center, which is a phenomenal feeling and experience, of course, but I really want to make it super personal and really be in and amongst the audience and stuff like that. So definitely a lot of ideas out there, but like I said, focusing on Sweet Spot the most, and seeing how much fun and how long we can stretch it out for, I guess.
Excellent. Well, Melody, I appreciate you taking the time to jump on and have the conversation with me. If people want to find you and all your work and watch the Sweet Spot, which they absolutely 100% should do,
Yes, please.
how can they do that? Where can they find you?
You can go to sweetspottv.com. Sweets, like lots of candy. Spot TV. There's 2 S's in there. You can also go to YouTube directly, youtube.com/@sweetspottv. Or me personally, get to know me at melodysweets.com.
Excellent, Melody. Thank you so much for taking time again to have a conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I had fun.
And that wraps up another episode of Jeff Does Vegas. If you've got feedback on this episode of the show, or any other episode for that matter, or you've got suggestions and ideas for topics you'd like me to cover on the podcast, please feel free to reach out to me via Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Jeff Does Vegas. Or drop me an email directly at jeff@jeffdoesvegas.com. In the meantime, thank you so much for checking out the show. Be sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts so you'll know the moment new episodes are available. And don't forget to visit jeffdoesvegas.com for past episodes and show notes. My name is Jeff, and this has been Jeff Does Vegas, a Walker New Media production.